Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're strapping in for a high-speed journey into the world of competitive speedrunning.
Sounds intense.
It really is. Our source material today is a transcript from a fictional podcast, Game On, and our mission basically is to pull out the most interesting bits, the highlights and the lowlights of this whole speedrunning scene.
Right, covering the triumphs, but also the,
Right.
let's say, the controversies.
Exactly. And what jumped out at me right away from reading the Game On stuff was just the sheer drama. The races against the clock, the records being smashed, and then the inevitable blow-ups when things go wrong.
Absolutely. It's fascinating how something that starts as, maybe a solo hobby turns into this whole complex community. You've got rules, heroes, villains. It's a real microcosm.
For sure. It's dedication pushed to the extreme, really.
And ingenuity, too.
Okay, so for anyone maybe just dipping their toes in, let's get down to brass tacks. What is speedrunning, fundamentally?
Well, in its simplest form, it's playing a video game as fast as humanly possible. Simple goal, right?
Seems simple enough.
But like the Game On, guys discussed, the details are where it gets complicated, specifically the different categories.
Right. They mention any percent, which sounds like,
Yeah.
well, anything goes. Just finish however you can.
Exactly. Get to the end credits, use glitches, skip huge chunks of the game, doesn't matter. Fastest time wins.
Okay.
Then you've got categories like glitchless. That's more about playing the game sort of as intended without using those major sequence breaks or exploits.
More purist, maybe?
Yeah, you could say that. And for the really dedicated, there's 100%. That means collecting everything, finding every secret, doing it all, but, still super fast.
It's just the level of precision they talked about. Game on.
Yeah.
Compared it to solving math problems. And that makes sense, actually. You're not just playing. You're optimizing every single move.
Oh, absolutely. Every button press, every pixel of movement, it's planned. They spend hours, days just routing, finding tiny short pits, shaving off fractions of a second.
Milliseconds mattering for world records.
Yeah.
The pressure must be insane.
Unbelievable pressure. What strikes you most about just that basic idea?
Just the sheer obsession, I guess. Pouring that much time into one single game. It's almost an art form in a weird way.
It really is.
But let's shift gears. Talk about the legends, those runs that everyone remembers. Game On brought out some big names.
Yeah, they hit some key figures. The Todd Rogers dragster story is, wow, a perfect example of how a legend is built and then how it can completely fall apart.
Decades that record stood, right?
Yeah.
And then impossible.
Mathematically impossible, yeah. The community basically proved it couldn't be done. It really shows how the community polices itself eventually.
A reality check, even for legends. Then there was Siglamic in Mario 64, dominant for ages.
Defined an era for sure. And the story of Darbian, his perfect Super Mario Bros. Run.
Beaten by 2 frames, just 2.
Yeah, think about that. A frame is like, what, 60th of a second? To beat perfection by that little, it's mind-boggling.
This really shows the tiny margins they operate in.
Absolutely. And then you have runs like Half-Life 2, done quick. That's just breaking the game wide open.
Yeah, that's beyond just playing well. It's like manipulating the Matrix or something. Game On called it black magic, which honestly feels about right.
Yeah, pretty much.
They also said it's not just skill, it's art, and sometimes a war. I like that phrasing.
It captures it well, I think. The creativity, finding the routes, but also the fierce competition. These runs set the bar, they show what might be possible.
Inspire the next person to shave off another frame.
Exactly. But competition, recognition, that often leads to, well, the darker side.
Yeah, let's get into that. The cheaters, the scandal. This is where Game On seemed to really dive into the drama. Billy Mitchell, King of Kong, that whole saga.
Oh, yeah. That one went mainstream, didn't it? Faking Donkey Kong's scores on emulators. It hit a nerve beyond just speedrunning.
Questioning the history, the records, and he still denies it, right?
Yep. Still insists he's innocent, despite the evidence. Shows how much reputation matters, I suppose.
Then there's Dream, the Minecraft guy. Accused of, rigging the random luck, getting super lucky drops way too often.
Yeah, the Game On, folks mentioned the statistics, the odds were astronomically low for his runs to be legit.
And the community figured it out, mathematically.
Pretty much. That case really showed the analytical power of the community. They didn't just accept it. They crunched the numbers. It raises questions about proof, burden of proof on the runner or the community.
Interesting point. And we can't forget Sinister One caught because he left the debug mode on.
Small chuckle. Yeah, that one's almost darkly funny. Sometimes it's not some clever hack, just carelessness.
A bit ironic.
But what stands out in all these really is the community catching them.
Totally. Game On said, nerds with frame-by-frame analysis acting like digital detectives. That's it exactly. The scrutiny is intense.
Poring over videos looking for tiny flaws.
That self-policing seems crucial. But Game On also mentioned, when bigger organizations like Guinness World Records get involved, things get murky.
Yeah, it gets complicated. On one side, Guinness recognition is, mainstream validation.
Makes it seem more official.
Right. But the criticism, which Game On highlighted, is that maybe Guinness doesn't really get the nuances. They might prioritize hype over accuracy sometimes.
They gave examples, right? Like giving a record to a tool-assisted speedrun, a TAS, without making it clear it wasn't human.
Exactly. A TAS uses computer help for perfect inputs. It's impressive, but it's different from a human run. Blurring that line is misleading.
Definitely. And apparently, Guinness even listed a totally fake record once. Just didn't check the facts properly.
Yeah, that really damages their credibility in this specific space. Makes you wonder if their records are actually prestigious to the runners themselves or just, marketing for Guinness.
What's your gut feeling on that?
I think, like Game On asked, legit or just for clout? It feels like a mix. The community wants recognition, but not at the cost of its own standards.
That makes sense. So looking ahead, what's the future hold? Game On touched on some ideas.
Well, it's always changing. Games get harder to break. Sometimes developers even patch out speedrun tricks.
Anti-speedrun patches.
Yeah.
Wow.
So runners have to get even more creative. Find new glitches, new routes. It's this constant cat and mouse game.
But the community's growing, right? Events like Games Done Quick are huge now, raising tons for charity.
Oh, absolutely huge. That brings in new people, more eyes, legitimizes it even more.
So bigger stage, maybe bigger pressure.
Possibly. And as records get harder and harder to beat, the temptation to cheat might grow too. Will cheating methods get more sophisticated, harder to spot?
That's a bit worrying.
It is. And Game On asked if the community can keep policing itself effectively if the stakes get higher, more fame, maybe even real prize money down the line.
It's a constant battle then.
It seems like it. The dedication to keeping things fair is strong, but so is the desire to be the best. As Game On put it, the speedrunning wars aren't really over.
Never really end, just change form. It's fascinating, though. The sheer brain power and dedication makes you think, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, seeing what they achieve, optimizing these complex systems. What else could that kind of focused, collaborative effort accomplish? Outside of games, or even within gaming, with tech blurring lines. What does mastery even mean anymore?
Deep questions. Definitely food for thought.
Indeed. Something to chew on as we wrap up this deep dive into the wild world of speedrunning.